watching Business Trends Today exclusively on ASBN.
What separates a good organization from a championship organization? Whether you're leading a football team or growing a business, success often comes down to leadership, culture, and the ability to develop great people. Joining us today is Scott Pioli, who is a former NFL general manager and executive director. During his 27-year NFL career, Scott helped build championship organizations with the New England Patriots, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Atlanta Falcons, making 5 trips to the Super Bowl and winning 3 championships. He was also named NFL Executive of the Year 5 times. This guy is the guy you want to listen to. So, Scott, thank you so much for taking the time out of what appears to be a very busy schedule and joining us on the show.
It is, but I heard about this opportunity and so thankful to be here. Truly, Jim. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this.
Absolutely. We're excited too. I know our audience is going to get a big kick out of this, and man, to have those kind of teams behind you like that and helping them to build those teams, I should say, into championship teams is just amazing. And I know that you're admired by a lot of people. So thanks again. So you spent, as I mentioned, your career building championship organizations. When you walk into a company today, and I know you work with a lot of companies around the country, maybe around the world, what's the first signs that tell you whether it has a strong culture, which is what everybody wants, or one that needs work?
Well, I think usually in my job, we would walk in and there needed to be a new culture established. And we had an idea of what our culture was. And I say specifically when we arrived at the New England Patriots, because that's when the greatness began.
Sure.
But part of that was learned in previous stops with the Cleveland Browns, working with Bill Belichick and some other folks. And to me, the most important thing about creating a culture is having employees that can understand your culture and want to be a part of your culture, and really not finding people that acquiesce to everything that you do and say. But during the process of talent identification, talent evaluation, talent acquisition, then talent development, and hopefully talent retention, when you're looking for those people to be a part of your organization, and that's every job, not just the players, but the executives, the front office, the coaches, when you're doing that, having a very defined understanding of what your culture is. And I'll give you an example, Jim. We were a very demanding culture, right? We understood that we were demanding in the sense that there was a great deal of emotional endurance and just overall endurance that was necessary because we were all about the grind.
Yeah.
We had to bring in employees that made sure that they understood our culture, that it really wasn't that difficult. It was be on time, pay attention, work hard. But for some reason, that is difficult for some people. So we went and identified the makeup and spent more time understanding the people we brought in rather than being so focused on the skills and the tools and the abilities. We felt if we brought in the right people and taught them the right work habits based on what we wanted to do, they would have a chance to make us better.
Yeah. Very good point. Very good point. What qualities do great leaders look for in people that others often overlook? You just mentioned a few of them.
Yeah, I think one of the things, again, for us, it was work ethic, right? And a lot of times, Jim, people will use the word work ethic and work habits as if they mean the same thing. Sure. They don't. We thought if we found people that were smart enough, and again, it had nothing to do with their grade point average or their IQ. Smart people to us were people that knew what they knew and knew what they didn't know. And if they had a strong work ethic, we would bring them in and develop them. That's part of the responsibility of the organization, of the company, of the team, is to bring in people with a strong work ethic that are smart. And really, we would teach them the right work habits. We would teach them, one of our things is we always kept it simple. People looked at our time at the Patriots and some of the other places that I was at where we had success. And our greatest success came when we did the most simple things well, and we did the simple things intentionally. I talked about being on time, paying attention, working hard. The things that manifest themselves off of that, it's dependability, it's reliability, it's accountability, and truthfully, it shows respect for other people.
Sure.
So we made sure that we did some of the simplest things better than other people, And that was a big part of our goal.
Yeah. And there's no question about it. You had a discussion recently that regarding leadership where you talked about the importance of simple standards. Why are the little things often what separate high-performing teams from everyone else?
Well, I think we had this saying, this belief, and in our industry, it showed itself to be this way every weekend. And as I've talked to a lot of people in businesses, that more games are lost than they are won. And what I mean by that is if you stick around and you do all the fundamental things. In our business, it was blocking, tackling, ball security, all of the simple things. There were these items that we called hidden yardage, so to speak. Okay, and hidden yardage in football refers to uncounted yards that are gained or lost through special teams, through penalties, through turnovers. Those things dictate field position.
Yeah.
And if you put yourself in good field position, then you have a chance to score and win games. So what we did was we made a point to make sure that we would tell our players, in the football industry, we said it a certain way that I don't think a lot of businesses say. We would say, don't do dumb stuff. Maybe a little bit different, but don't do dumb things.
Sounds pretty easy.
Don't lose the game.
Right.
Do all the fundamental things really well. Be a good teammate. Work together, communicate, collaborate, and put yourself in a position that when the other team makes a mistake, because everyone's going to make mistakes, just don't make as many mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. And those things have their own, you can put a different word on those things in businesses.
Sure.
And we would wait for teams to make enough mistakes, and then we would pray, P-R-E-Y, prey upon other teams' mistakes and try to do those things better. And that was part of our basics. We had smart people that were reliable, dependable, cared about one another, good teammates.
Sure.
That didn't do dumb stuff.
Didn't do dumb stuff. Accountability is something
Sure, don't do dumb stuff.
That's great. And it would be a bestseller, right? Accountability is something every leader wants, but it's often difficult to create. How can business leaders build a culture where people hold themselves and one another accountable without creating fear or micromanagement in the process?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because I think you said one of the most important things first. Very often when we talk about accountability and people hear the word accountability, they automatically go to this place of holding other people accountable, right? Who's holding but the reality is that self-accountability is the most important accountability.
Yeah.
And self-accountability not only comes from within, but it comes from the people around you. Surrounding yourself with people. I've seen a lot of leaders say that they want truth tellers around them, that they don't want sycophants.
Yeah.
And the reality is they kind of like it when they get rubbed behind the ear a little bit, right? And they're told how wonderful they are, or there's not that much friction. Friction is a good thing. And accountability is going to involve friction. So I think the self-accountability component is really important, to not only be reflecting upon yourself, but having important leaders along with you that are holding you accountable. And again, the most successful organizations that I was a part of, our team in our locker room, which is the workplace in anywhere, that's where we had our highest level of accountability. Our employees, our players held one another on accountable on a level that was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the things, looking back on the greatest success that we had with the Patriots, and even the year that we won the NFC Championship, I was with the Falcons that year, knowing how the locker room accountability was and how people really would have uncomfortable conversations with their contemporaries, with their peers.
Yeah.
They did it in a respectful way. Sometimes it would have to be, maybe in an aggressive way in terms of the delivery.
Sure, that's what it took.
But that's our culture too. That's the culture of our sport.
Sure.
So the accountability component is so important. But again, you ask how you create that. I think it goes back to, Jim, the people that you hire.
Yeah.
When you go and hire people, we all want people that have, again, whether it's tools, intellect, all those things are important.
Yep.
But focus on the makeup of the individuals and find people that are willing to be selfless, that understand that if we hold one another accountable, everyone's going to have success, because we were true believers. I'm a big believer in the high tides raise all boats.
Yeah.
So once people understand that and accept that, that's where you have a better chance for accountability.
Sure, sure. Now, you've worked alongside legendary coaches and some of the greatest players, in fact, the GOAT in NFL history. What's one or two leadership lessons from those experiences that every business leader and business owner can apply to their own organization?
Yeah, it all goes back to, again, work ethic.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells, Charlie Weiss, who was a coordinator for us, Dan Quinn, who was with us in Atlanta, a heck of a coach. And then some of the players, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, all of those people had this amazing work ethic, and they developed work habits. Again, I'm going back to this again, and their level of accountability, not only for other people, but themselves, was extraordinary. And for instance, Tom Brady, he helped us develop a number of players. If you look back, some of our most successful receivers that we had and played under Tom Brady were not high draft picks. They were people that went out on the practice field early, stayed late, did extra, did more, not just grinding to grind, but they held people accountable to a very high standard. Yeah. But then the standard that they truly held themselves to, was even greater that they put on other people.
Yeah.
And as I watch it happen, place after place, even when I first went to work for Bill Belichick in Cleveland, he was willing. There was no job that was too big. There was no job that was too small. Bill was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and I used to watch him go over to the copy machine. Back when copy machines were a thing, he would be running his own copies. So when people see leaders doing all the little things and being detailed, when there's the demands of the job, they understand people are willing to do everything that they're asking you to do.
Sure.
It creates credibility and accountability, Jim.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And Tom Brady was known to be the first guy at the field for practice and the last one to leave, and held himself, as you were just mentioning, to that higher standard. And the players were aware of that 100% of the time, right?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you a quick story here. So we drafted Tommy in 2000, and he didn't play. He was our fourth quarterback the whole season. The next year, we were getting ready for the 2001 draft. It was probably late March, early April. And I'm there late on a Friday night in the office. I'm the last one in the scouting department personnel office. And I'm getting ready to leave. And we're now building Gillette Stadium. So we're in the old stadium, and we didn't have an indoor facility. We had one of those old school bubbles. And as I go to leave, I see that the lights are on in the bubble. I'm like, who left the lights on in the bubble? So I drive around the construction. I go over to where the bubble is. And now it's 9:30-ish on a Friday night in the spring. And as I pull up, there's this little yellow Jeep there. And I'm like, okay. Brady had this little yellow Jeep. It was, back before yellow was a cool color, he was driving a yellow Jeep.
Right.
Drew Bledsoe got him a deal on this Jeep as a joke. And I walk into the facility, and he, through the doors, and he's there by himself, and he's got those elastic bands around his ankles. He's doing footwork drills.
Wow.
And he's throwing the ball into the net with the holes with the buckets in it.
Sure.
And I go in there, and again, Tommy is, at this point, he's still Tommy.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, there's a lot of things that a guy that looks like Tom Brady can be doing on a Friday night in the spring at 9:30.
Yes.
And he's there by himself. No one else is around.
Wow.
And I go into the bubble and say, hey, what are you doing? Make sure you lock up when you're done.
Sure.
And we had some small talk, and as I'm getting ready to leave, he turns on and goes, hey. I go, what's up, Tommy? He goes, do me a favor. And I go, what's up? He goes, don't tell anyone you saw me here tonight.
Wow.
And he was dead serious. He was there, and he was embarrassed to have been seen. But his work ethic, his work habits, he was there on a Friday night where he could have been doing a million other things.
Of course.
Trust me, there's a lot of things a young guy like that could have been doing.
Of course.
And there he was trying to get better, but he also had this sense of, I don't want to call it insecurity, but embarrassment, that he knew in his mind he had to work harder in order to get good enough. But that was his whole career, Jim. That was his entire career.
Wow. You must have lived in this world of inspiration from all of these coaches that you had the pleasure of working with, and these players. and walked home every night thinking, wow, I got to pinch myself here. Stories like that and so many others that you're exposed to and involved in, it must have been one heck of a career.
It was extraordinary. And very early in my career, even when we were in Cleveland, you go back to that Cleveland Browns staff.
Yeah.
Bill was a head coach, and it didn't work out, and he ended up getting fired. But our defensive coordinator was Nick Saban. Ozzie Newsome, who long before he was a general manager.
Right.
Kirk Ferentz was our offensive line coach. He's now going into like his 26th year at the University of Iowa, and he's the winningest coach in Big Ten history. There was proximity and access to so many great minds and so many great people, and then the athletes too. So if you're humble enough and smart enough to just be quiet, my dad always told me, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in the proper proportion.
Yeah.
And you pay attention to what's going on around you. It was truly a blessing, Jim. Truly.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow, you need your own book or something out there that tells these stories, because
there might be a book someday.
You got to do it. You got to do it. We're hoping that you do that for sure. I know that our viewers are probably going, I got to read this guy's book right now. But it's coming, folks. It's coming. I'm going to convince them to do it right here. But if you could leave our viewers with maybe one piece of advice for building stronger teams, and you've mentioned a number of them, but if you had to boil it down to one, to build stronger teams and a culture that lasts, what would it be?
To me, it's don't ever forget that it's about the people.
Yeah.
Individuals in our sport, individuals go to Pro Bowls, teams win championships.
Yeah.
Find selfless people that care about a greater good, that understand that the goal is to raise all boats.
Yeah.
Focus on others. And for a number of years, the word servant leadership was, I think, a little overused because people talked about it, but they didn't live it.
Yeah, it's true.
Understand that we are all servants, regardless of what your role is, whether you're at the top of the organizational chart, the middle, the bottom. We are all here to serve. So to me, look for the people that are willing to serve, that care about others, because in the end, everyone's going to have the same tools to use in a business and to drive data and do all those things. But at the end of the day, we're always going to be, the consumers are always going to be people.
Right.
So lock into people and who they are.
That's right. Great advice. I couldn't agree more. And you're right. We do talk about being a servant leader and servant leadership, but we don't often practice it. So I agree. That's great advice. Scott Pioli, a former NFL general manager, executive, I should say, who now advises organizations on leadership, culture, and team building, much the way he talked about today. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. So if there's organizations out there that are looking to really take your event to the next level, this is the guy you want to bring in. You want to impress that audience. He's the guy. We're so happy to have him here and honored. So thank you so much, Scott. Really appreciate it. Love to do a follow-up with you because I got 20 questions here that my audience wants me to ask, but time didn't allow me to. So again, thank you so much.
I would love to do that, truly. And again, any folks that want to find me, I am on LinkedIn, and I always respond. So thank you so much for having me. Truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching Business Trends Today exclusively on ASBN.